Understanding the debate surrounding so-called partial birth abortion requires tracing how a specific medical technique became the center of a national political battle. What began as a clinical presentation of a late-term abortion method quickly evolved into a defining flashpoint in U.S. abortion politics, shaped by strategic language, legislative campaigns, and a series of court challenges. The following timeline outlines how the term emerged, how lawmakers responded, and how the courts repeatedly evaluated the constitutionality of these bans. Objective: the goal of this overview is to clarify the historical development of the partial birth abortion controversy by identifying the origins of both the term and the medical procedure it refers to, tracing the legislative efforts at the federal and state levels to restrict the procedure, highlighting key judicial decisions that shape the legal landscape, particularly around health exceptions and constitutional standards, providing context for how political advocacy groups influence public perception and policy debates. This structure helps illuminate not only what happened, but why the issue became so prominent and contested. Intact dilation and extraction, DNX, also known as intact D&E or partial birth abortion, is a surgical procedure used in second and third trimester abortions, where the fetus is removed mostly intact. It involves dilating the cervix, extracting the fetus breech style, and removing intracranial contents to complete delivery. Key details about D&X abortion. Procedure specifics: the technique involves dilating the cervix over several days, performing an assisted breech delivery, and collapsing the fetal head to remove the fetus intact, rather than in pieces as in standard dilation and evacuation D&E. Medical terminology: the American Medical Association, AMA, uses the term intact dilatation and extraction, while the term partial birth abortion is a political legal term coined by the National Right to Life Committee, NRLC. Medical opinion: the AMA has stated that intact D&X is generally not the only appropriate procedure for abortion and recommends it only be used when alternatives present a greater risk to the woman. Legality: the Federal Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act of 2003 prohibits this procedure in the United States, with an exception only to save the life of the mother. Source quote: the law, which was signed by President Bush in 2003, after an 8-year-long congressional fight, prohibits doctors from knowingly performing a partial birth abortion, a procedure it defines as one in which the person performing the abortion deliberately and intentionally vaginally delivers a living fetus until, in the case of a head-first presentation, the entire fetal head is outside the body of the mother, or, in the case of breech presentation, any part of the fetal trunk past the navel is outside the body of the mother. How often is the D&X procedure performed? According to the Alan Guttmacher Institute, an abortion rights research group that conducts surveys of the nation's abortion doctors, about 15,000 abortions were performed in the year 2000 on women 20 weeks or more along in their pregnancies. The vast majority were between the 20th and 24th week. Of those, only about 2,200 D&X abortions were performed, or about 0.2% of the 1.3 million abortions believed to be performed that year. And contrary to the claims of some abortion opponents, most such abortions do not take place in the third trimester of pregnancy, or after fetal viability. Indeed, when some members of Congress tried to amend the bill to ban only those procedures that take place after viability, abortion opponents complained that would leave most of the procedures legal. Timeline of the partial birth abortion debate. 1992, Dr. Martin Haskell presents a paper to the National Abortion Federation describing a late-term abortion technique, called dilation and extraction, D&X. 1993, the National Right to Life Committee, NRLC, obtains the paper, publicizes it, and launches a campaign to ban the procedure. June 1995, Rep. Charles Kennedy, RFL, introduces the first federal bill, the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, to prohibit D&X. Senator Bob Smith, RNH, introduces a companion bill in the Senate. November 1995, the House passes the bill for the first time, 288 to 139. December 1995, the Senate passes it as well, 54 to 44. April 1996, President Clinton vetoes the bill. May 1997, lawmakers reintroduce the bill. The Senate approves it again, 64 to 36. October 8, 1997, the House passes the measure, 295 to 136. October 10, 1997, President Clinton issues a second veto. June 2000, in Stenberg v. Carhart, the Supreme Court strikes down Nebraska's partial birth abortion ban for lacking a health exception for the pregnant person. The ruling effectively invalidates similar bans in most states. July to March 2002, both the House and Senate pass updated versions of the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act. November 5, 2003, President George W. Bush signs the federal ban into law. The National Abortion Federation immediately challenges it, preventing enforcement against its members. June 2004, in Planned Parenthood v. Ashcroft, a federal judge in California rules the law unconstitutional due to vague wording and the undue burden it places on patients. August 2004, in an AF v. Ashcroft, a New York federal judge also finds the law unconstitutional for lacking health protections. July 2004, in Carhart v. Gonzalez, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously rules that the absence of a health exception renders the law unconstitutional. September 2004, in Carhart v. Ashcroft, a Nebraska federal judge concludes that banning the procedure without a health exception poses a significant risk to women's health. Origin of the term partial birth abortion. The phrase partial birth abortion was created by the National Right to Life Committee in 1995. It was not a medical term, but a political one, crafted to describe a newly discussed procedure, intact dilation and extraction, also called D&X or intact D&E, in which the fetus is removed largely intact after cervical dilation. After Dr. Haskell presented the technique at a National Abortion Federation conference, The NRLC commissioned illustrations and distributed them widely in booklets and newspaper ads to galvanize public opposition. In a 1996 interview with The New Republic, NRLC spokesperson Douglas Johnson explained that the term was deliberately chosen to shape public perception and increase resistance to abortion more broadly. Rep. Kennedy incorporated the term into his 1995 federal bill, marking its first appearance in legislative language. That same year, Ohio passed the first state-level ban, though it was later struck down in federal court, and the Supreme Court declined to review the case. Source: Partial Birth Abortion, Separating Fact from Spin. February 21. By Julie Rovner.